I'm afraid the darkest hours of hell lie before you. I don't think they'll kill you, Lawrence, but they will blame you. The beast will have its day. The beast will out.
Hey, I'm back, and, I'm going to be here with another deceptively long quickie. This is because I'm going to be talking about the movie in question at a length, being The Wolfman, because not only am I a huge fan of horror movies and The Wolfman in general, all of the werewolf-type movies, I'm also going to be discussing spoilers, but I will leave them to the end of the video, and I will indicate when I am talking about major points in the plot. Otherwise, beforehand, I'm going to be speaking about everything that you see on the trailers and what the movie's like then. I'm going to start with my opinion on horror movies in general, and that I believe that I don't like how modern day movies are going, where they seem to be like all Saw and Hostel and torture porn. If you like it, that's whatever blows your skirt up. But I find that real kind of horror movies are something that it's kind of an atmosphere. Like the overall movie should make you uneasy because of the atmosphere and what's going on in the plot, rather than showing like people's intestines getting ripped out and stuff. And like that, I don't know. It's kind of a weird sensation to describe. I guess I have to turn to classic horror movies again. Another very good surrealist kind of horror movie is The Fly, but there's like barely any violence. I think it's like 60s or 70s, and it was scary because the story of the dude and the fly getting into the teleporter. He comes out and his DNA's mixed with the fly, and he puts a bag on his head because his head is a fly head. The whole movie was horrific, and it made you uneasy because you didn't quite know what he looked like under the bag. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Fucking unscripted quickie reviews. The Wolfman. I did express my initial fear in a previous video that the Wolfman was going to become a slasher. Kind of a Wolfman just runs around crazy and just kills people for no reason. It kind of did, but it mostly didn't. It stayed very true to the original to a point. Of course, I'm not against updating the image of a classic horror movie for a modern audience, but they did a lot of things wrong. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about what was really good in the movie. Of course, the first really good thing is that they used CG and traditional rubber costumes well. They had really good transformation scenes, but of course they don't show you like the full-blown thing all the way until the very end, and that's very important because less is more. They kept a lot of themes with the old movie, like the gypsies and consulting the gypsies, and Larry Talbot's a very well-off young man, and he just kind of has this rug pulled underneath him that is the Wolfman, and there's a girl who falls in love with him, and she kind of wants to help him, more so in the modern movie rather than the old incarnation. What things that they did update that I really liked, as I mentioned in my original review, is that they actually updated kind of Lawrence's purposes of being there. In the original movie, he would kind of just like went home, and he had this huge house, and it was totally awesome. And in this one, the Wolfman killed his brother, and he's kind of investigating as to what killed his brother, and he visits the gypsies, and then that whole wolf thing happens. They did unfortunately try to use a lot of modern tactics to kind of draw in the new crowd, I guess. One being in that they had a really gory kind of scenes. I don't mind gore, it doesn't bother me, but there's some parts where it's totally unneeded, like the Wolfman is running through this gypsy camp and he's just like ripping people's limbs off, and you know, this guy reaches into a hole and he rips off 2 of his fingers, or like a guy looks through the back end of a caravan and the Wolfman shoves his claws up underneath the guy's jaw and like his claws are sticking out of the guy's mouth, and it toward the end of the movie it became a little too much, but if they kind of toned it down just a little bit so that it wasn't overt, it would have been more effective. But I'm thinking they're just trying to draw in those kids who like Saw and Hostel. And another thing that was also, it actually got to the point where it was annoying, was that you know in a lot of horror movies these days, especially slasher ones, they have like the killer kind of jump through windows or like come out of beds and just be like blah, 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 booga booga. That's what they did, but they would repeat it over and over again just to make sure they scared you. Like Larry's having this nightmare sequence and he sits up and he sees like a wolf and he's like, oh jeez, and then he wakes up again because it was a dream, of course, and then he sees like another werewolf and it's like, blah, did I scare you the first time? I'm gonna get you the second time. And Larry wakes up and he's like, oh jeez, it was scarier the second time. It's at the point they started doing these like double scares in a row it got silly. Like I started laughing and like my friends are totally horrified, and it kind of reminded me of Family Guy in a way. I'm kind of mad that they did that, because they also had really good nightmare and kind of like screwed up hallucination scenes where Larry was going crazy and he's like, ah, I'm the Wolfman, oh no, I'm not the Wolfman. He's like seeing images of like these fucked up like mental homes, and he's like holding up his brother's like decapitated head, and the head is like talking with a child's voice, and it's like, Larry, please help me. And it would show all of these horribly gruesome things and scare you without being overly violent or shocking you. But then they do the stupid, jump out from under the bed shocking things, and it would totally destroy the atmosphere of the nightmare sequence itself. Another thing I do have to point out is that the acting's a little flat, but I didn't expect it. If it's an old horror movie, like a monster movie, like I didn't expect, it to be top notch, except for Anthony Hopkins, who is always a powerhouse actor, and he seems to play Hannibal Lecter again in this movie, but I don't mind. It was pretty cool. It helped drive it forward. The movie was also beautifully shot and had a lot of moon sequences of the moon against the sky and the moon going really fast, and like it's cheesy, but hey, it's the Wolfman and it works. I guess they're trying to make up for the original Wolfman's lack of moon. And my only other complaints really come with the plot of the movie, which I'll discuss now, but I guess I'll kind of give my non-spoilery closing notes now. Is that I'd honestly rent this movie. I wouldn't go see it in theaters again. It's kind of good if you like, really kind of thrillery, actiony type of horror stuff, and you want to laugh at like the bad acting. That's when you pick up the I don't think I'm even gonna buy this outside of that I'm a huge Wolfman fan. But yeah, now on to discuss the plot.